Derpity derp derp.
Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. Before we get started on this video, there's something I wanted to show you that I saw happen on the test server. Did you see that? Maybe you didn't see that. Let's rewind it and watch it again. Pay careful attention to the turret of that Panther. Wait for it. Wait for it. Boom! Headshot! Oh, that was just great. Yeah, it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye. Anyway, today's video, in fact most of this week's videos are going to be shorter than you're used to. As mentioned on yesterday's Mingles with Jingles, really busy week ahead of me. Not going to repeat the details at the start of this video. If you're interested, watch yesterday's Mingles with Jingles, but suffice to say that the videos that you're going to see this week are probably going to follow this format. A couple of short and amusing clips followed by one good replay. Speaking of good replays, this is Mugen in his Leopard 1. This is a tank I don't have yet, but I badly want it. There's just something about the combination of incredible speed, great manoeuvrability, and deadly gun that I love. And you know, when I first heard they were introducing this tank into the game, well, my initial reaction was, oh my god, a Leopard. My second reaction after looking at the stats of the tank was, oh my god, it's got no armour. But the real thing didn't have any armour. It was designed at a time when pretty much everybody thought, well, putting armour on tanks is pointless. Doesn't matter how thick you make the armour, there's a gun that can penetrate it. So if you're going to get penetrated regardless of how much armour you put on the tank, well, let's just not put any armour on the tank and go for the maximum speed and manoeuvrability that we can manage, while having one of those deadly guns that can penetrate any amount of armour. And thus, the Leopard 1 was born. But the problem that I thought the Leopard 1, you know, before I'd driven one, the problem I thought the Leopard 1 in World of Tanks was going to have was it was all well and good giving the thing the historically accurate armour thickness. But you don't knock tanks out with one shot in World of Tanks, which is what the Leopard did. And that was my major concern about how the hell the Leopard was going to be competitive as a tier 10 medium tank. And it's all well and good giving the thing historically accurate armour and historically accurate manoeuvrability and speed, but you're never going to give it a historically accurate first kill capability. You know, that gun is not going to disable tanks in one hit, because that's not how World of Tanks works. Tanks have health bars. And so I was really concerned that this thing was never going to be competitive because of that. But it does seem to work. And I think it works for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the whole tanks having health bars thing, that works both ways. It doesn't just work against the Leopard, it works for it too. The deadly accuracy and lightning fast aiming time of the Leopard's 105mm gun does, as in the real world, usually mean that the Leopard is going to get the first shot off in any tank-on-tank engagement. Now in the real world, that would mean a victorious Leopard and a disabled enemy tank. In World of Tanks, that means a very pissed off enemy tank who's about to fire back at you. But the Leopard has a health bar as well. The Leopard is also not going to be knocked out in one shot by enemy tanks firing back at it. And it is incredibly manoeuvrable. That speed and manoeuvrability goes a long way to compensate for not having any armour in the first place. And I think you find Leopard drivers, successful Leopard drivers, tend to play as if every single shot is going to hurt them, and that's a very sensible way to play in the Leopard, because most things firing at this thing are going to hurt you. It also has the benefit that you never really have to worry about the kind of ammunition that anybody's firing at you in the first place. It doesn't matter if the enemy tanks have got high explosive anti-tank ammo loaded. It doesn't matter if they have armor-piercing composite rigid ammunition loaded. You're never going to have the problem that heavily armoured tanks have in World of Tanks. Like, for example, you're driving a mouse and you angle your armour perfectly against an enemy T-54, and then he just loads a skill shot and derps high explosive anti-tank ammo right through the front of your turret. So, that is not an issue in a Leopard. Now the biggest threat to a Leopard driver's survival is getting his tracks blown off. Mugen took an awful risk there, but somebody had to go over and reset that cap. He took full advantage of the limited terrain protection that was available by driving through this low riverbed, but as soon as he stopped to take the shot at the enemy tank in the cap circle, that was when he was at his most vulnerable. And if not for the repair kit, he'd have been a dead Leopard driver. So, at this point in the match, the scores are, well, they could be better. They're losing 3-5, he's done just under 2,000 damage, and he's in a pretty precarious position. There is not a huge amount of cover down here in this riverbed. And if he does get spotted down here, there's not a massive amount of covering fire available from the tanks on the ridgeline behind him. So while he's not been spotted, he moves up onto the higher ground to give him a better line of fire and a first shot at the Ferdinand and the Lorraine in that dry riverbed, also making it more difficult for the tanks above him to point their guns down. But now he's been spotted, he is in the open. Instead, he heads for the cover of that rock on his left. And, well, there's the Lorraine, kills him first. He's more dangerous, he's actually pointing this way, unlike the Ferdinand. Now that IS-3 put a gun depression, and the more the IS-3 struggles to point his gun down at him, and you can see at the last second there he realised he was not going to get the shot before Mugen managed to plant one right into his lower glacis. He's checking his flank, he's completely safe here for the moment, keeps looking back between shots, reloads, finishes off the Ferdinand as well. Checks his flank and rear again, stops, thinks for a second, threat to his front, neutralised, turns the tank around, decides how to best proceed. No immediate threat, other than that WZ-131, who has spotted him, so now he has to get up this hill, get under the guns of any of those tank destroyers, like the Tortoise. There's also an IS-3 up there, who will know he's coming, and might be trying to do something about it. Now, what you're about to see is a fantastic example of smart, intelligent target prioritisation, of not panicking while under fire. Comes around the corner, he knows there's an IS-3 and a Tortoise around here. Kills the IS-3. Tortoise is pointing the other way. GW Tiger behind him, heading the other way. Tortoise is the biggest threat. Puts a shot into the Tortoise's drive wheel at the rear, immobilising him and doing damage. Does exactly the same to the GW Tiger. He knows he's not going to kill him in one shot, so instead he immobilises him, saves him for later. Brings his attention back to the Tortoise, who is turning, attempts to immobilise him, doesn't work, does damage anyway. Instead, pulls back while he's reloading, putting the wreck of the IS-3 between himself and the Tortoise. Calmly finishes the Tortoise off. Pops around to do exactly the same to the GW Tiger, who is still trying to run away after having repaired his tracks, but somebody else gets the kill. Doesn't matter, he did the most damage to him. Now, you could probably be forgiven for making jokes about German efficiency at this point, but a lot of tank drivers would have panicked, gotten flustered, made some of the wrong choices in that situation. While they probably wouldn't have died, they would have taken some damage. But Mugen, driving his Leopard like a Terminator T-800, calmly, coldly and dispassionately putting shot after shot right where it's gonna do the most damage, and ending this game with a nice little Top Gun and almost 6,000 damage done. Not a bad result at all. That's his Ace Tanker badge in the Leopard, as well as high caliber, Top Gun, and a very well earned and risky Defender. And did I say almost 6,000 damage done? Silly me, it was actually 6,200. One of those blind shots went in as well. And that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm back on the test server tonight with a couple of special guests. Hopefully we'll get that video for you tomorrow. In the meantime, as always, take care on that battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.